Ja, hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Tyranny. Beim letzten Mal sind wir von Tunern zum Tode verurteilt worden und haben daraufhin ihn selbst zum Tode verurteilt, ihn umgebracht. Wir haben jetzt also, und er hat vorher auch noch irgendwie Bladen Mark niedergestreckt, der uns exekutieren sollte, was er nicht getan hat oder nicht machen wollte. So wie es klang so, als sei Bladen Mark nicht wirklich dabei gestorben. Aber zumindest oder nur ein bisschen tot. Auf jeden Fall sind jetzt außer uns irgendwie keine Archons und Syrien natürlich. Also außer Wertner und Syrien irgendwie keine Archons mehr am Leben hier. Und das Ganze hat Kairos wohl ein bisschen biestig gemacht, weil wir haben jetzt erfahren, dass er, sie, es, was auch immer, Armies march from the north with only one goal, the utter annihilation of the Tiers. Okay, das können wir wohl versuchen zu vermeiden, indem wir ein Edikt aussprechen von unserem Mountain Spire. Ja, das werden wir gleich machen, aber beim letzten Mal habe ich vergessen, dass Vers noch mit uns sprechen wollte, nachdem wir Voices of Nerat besiegt hatten. Fatebinder. I never thought that anyone could get the jump on the Voices of Nerat. He outlasted most of his enemies and ate the others. He was this great bottomless thing. I just assumed that he would be around forever. And now he's dead. It's hard to believe, really. I'm happy. But he also gave me this life, this name. I hated him. But he was incredible. An artist. What I'm trying to say here is that I'm impressed. You've exceeded my low expectations. Do you think the Voices is really dead? If we're being honest with each other, I have my doubts. The Voices could scheme 1,000 steps ahead of anyone. I can only imagine that he had something planned for his death. Some contingency. It could be so complex that we might never recognize it if we saw it. It might not even happen in our lifetimes. If we are lucky. Whatever.
What do you need?
Nix, so wie es aussieht. Okay. So, eine Sache wollte ich allerdings noch machen, bevor wir zu unserem Mountain Spire reisen. Wir haben in unserer Verhandlung hier ja gesagt, dass wir den Mage Bane Helm nicht geklaut haben, sondern ihn zurückgeben wollten. Und ich war so ein bisschen irritiert davon, dass das Spiel einem uns nicht die Möglichkeit gegeben hat, den quasi schon seinerzeit dazulassen. Und jetzt mal gucken, ob es jetzt vielleicht geht. Weil jetzt ja offiziell, ne, in den Gerichtsakten steht ja jetzt drin, falls wir die Gerichtsakten nicht schon zerstört haben, dass wir gesagt haben, dass wir ihn zurückbringen. Und dann wollen wir mal gucken, ob wir das jetzt machen können. Na gut, dann schauen wir mal. Wo war das denn? Hier. Seen an influx of Apex folks since that edict hit. Poor bastards. Edict on Vengeance, well, they say, but not one of Chaos' main. Oh, die reagieren auf das, was wir gemacht haben. Aber wir können hier nichts machen, okay. Vielleicht können wir ihm den Dorfältesten geben. Der war ja da irgendwo. Wo war der denn? Hier, ne? Ich glaube. Dupdidup. Ja, Fatebinder. Das ist Alien. Fatebinder, you honor us with your presence. Alien gives you a small bow and salute. To what do I owe this visit? Based on what you did in Vanuin's Well, I figured you would have already taken the throne from Kairos. Everyone in the Tears is talking about the Fatebind and his infinite power. What can a small town like Lethian's Crossing hold for you now? But enough of my prattling. You didn't come here for a history lesson or to get my opinion of your grandeur. He waves his hand dismissively at his previous comments. What can this old fool do for you? I've decided to leave the Magebane Helm with you. Es geht. Sehr gut. I've decided to leave the Magebane Helm with you. Thank you, Fatebinder. Your generosity ensures the people of the Crossing can work and rest in safety. Whatever. Wir haben was Besseres jetzt. Das Ding hier. Okay. May the silence of peace and the juggling of rings both follow you in all things. Whatever. Okay, jetzt kann man ihn auch wieder wegnehmen. Okay. Wie viel Spiel soll denn danach kommen? Das klingt mir alles so ultimativ hier, eigentlich. Naja, vielleicht gibt es ja dann DLC oder irgendwie irgendein Add-on oder sonst was. Mhm. So, na gut, dann doch, kannst du. So, da würde ich mal sagen, ab nach Vanuin's, Quatsch, nach, Vanuin's Well, Mountain Spire. Issue an edict. Use the resonator to issue an edict upon the Northern Kingdoms and thwart incoming invasion. Ja, wir hatten uns beim letzten Mal ja schon die Edicts angeguckt. Da ist ja auch eins, was ganz gut klingt. Ich weiß jetzt nicht, aber müssen wir dann wirklich noch selber? Weil ich hoffe nicht, dass wir jetzt noch gegen die Armies kämpfen müssen, weil bei den Disfavored und Scarlet Coast waren die Armies ja eher so witzig, damit wir 4 Leute eine Chance hatten. Ja, aber ich glaube, das ist das Einzige, was wir hier noch machen können, ne? Machen wir das doch mal. The waves of energy radiating from the spire draw you forward, pressing your body and mind to its eager embrace. At the center of this tide, the resonator stands ready to broadcast your voice, echoing your commandments to the farthest reaches of the Tears and beyond. From here, the highest point in all the peninsula, you could, with the sum total of your effort, project your will far north, past the edge of the Tears and proclaim your edict as far as the lands of the Northern Empire. Okay, also mit anderen Worten, Kairos zu Hause treffen. Request. Turn to your companion. This probably amounts to a declaration of war against the Overlord. Ready? So, this is it. We've come a long way since Edgewing Ruins. Before this, I was nothing important. One Scarlet Coast killer among thousands. But we're really doing something here. Thanks for letting me tag along. She turns to the edge of the spire, avoiding your gaze. This is new territory for us all. You're the first to strike a blow directly at the Overlord. Make sure it counts. Hope you don't mind if I stand back and take notes. By all means, continue. It's incredible what you've done to get here. I think you can take it another step further. And I want to be at your side when it happens. You were the first one who didn't twist me to suit your ends, and I'll never forget that. So let's finish what we started. If I don't show Kairos my ability to cast the edict is more than one thing, the attacks will never stop. This will be an opening strike. Perhaps the Tears will conquer the Northern Empire. Ja, möglich. Whatever. Say nothing. Spire awaits your command. Okay. Region Northern Empire, das muss hier irgendwo... Da ist das Northern Empire. So, wir hatten uns schon überlegt, das Beste ist das hier. Von den Effekten. Ja, Issue Edict. Okay. By casting the Edict of Malediction on the northern capital, you consign the Overlord's city to an invisible plague of misfortune and calamity. The foundations of once proud buildings fracture under some unseen pressure, and whole districts empty as the city's infrastructure crumbles. Laborers brought in to repair the damage find their work undone hours or even minutes later. Citizens leave the city a ghost town and whisper among themselves how Kairos could allow such a curse to infect their homeland. As chaos ensued in the northern kingdom, the armies marching on the tiers received an unprecedented order. The armies were to fall back to the capital and ensure the safety of its people from the edict. For the first time in Kairos' great conquest, the armies retreated. Soon questions would be asked in a hushed breath across the lands about what new and terrible power had emerged that could force the hand of the Overlord. You fulfilled Kairos' decree, and all the tiers is now ruled by a single Archon. Your former rivals have either submitted to you or perished, bringing the civil war to a close. Neither of the Archons charged with conquering the tiers impressed you enough to follow their lead. You ultimately defied your orders, seeing a better way to gain control. Eliminating every Archon who dared stand in your way, you carved your own seat of power in the tiers, keeping yourself independent from the Northern Empire. In their pride, the disfavored never imagined themselves beaten, especially when their opponents appeared so disorganized. The last remnants of the Legion dispersed, their general destroyed, their honor broken beyond mending. The scorn that follows their humbled ranks haunts them even in the depths of obscurity. The Scarlet Chorus may have been mighty in numbers, but that didn't stop you from thoroughly scattering them, cutting off the serpent's head and sending each of the gangs howling back to the chaos they sowed. How the remnants of the Horde occupy themselves without a war to fight becomes a topic for nightmares. Word of your success spreads beyond the tiers as well. Even the most distant corners of the Empire whisper of the Fatebinder who rose to become an Archon, and an Archon whose intervention shattered the conquest, making way for a new future in the devastated nation. Without the authority of Kairos' Archons to enforce the Overlord's vision on the world, the fall of the conquest becomes a great revolution. Warring factions struggle for dominance, and infighting is a fact of daily life. Every group insists the situation is an opportunity for the tiers to rebuild as they see fit. With the Edict of Stone dispelled, the earth settles around the Stone Sea, ushering a new age of verdant growth and prosperity. The country may never resemble the glorious realm of Azure, but with new life, many new things become possible. The memory of Kern as a great force of destruction remains as a monument of inert rock. Most agree that the world is better off without the Archon of Stone, as the people of Azure begin to slowly reclaim the land that was once torn asunder by his power. With the Edict of Stone dispelled, you ensure that humans will once again populate the former realm of Azure. The Stonestalker tribe is gradually pushed out of their new territory, and those who don't resist are enslaved, put to work rebuilding new human settlements. The death of the Radix is a huge blow to the disfavored. Without the support of the Mage Guild, the Legion finds itself outclassed for the first time and suffers on the battlefield. By claiming Sentinel stand for yourself, your renown spreads across the region, and everyone comes to know you as the liberator of the country's most iconic fortress. That you claimed it for pride instead of any tactical advantage is a point of contention which your harshest detractors never fail to cite in their long list of grievances. To save her child, Emilia abdicated her claim to the throne of Stalwood. Lacking allies or a mission beyond survival, she bundles her baby clothes and sets out to find a safer, less warlike frontier in modest anonymity. If the need arises, she is ready to protect the precious burden with her life. Though it takes time to recover from the devastation of the Edict of Storms, the Bladegrave begins its slow march toward healing. The realm of Stalwood may never resemble its former glory, but the land is not so blasted that something new and better can't be built atop the bones of the past. The Regent bloodline is ended. With it, new tradition and legacies spring to life. Following Bladenmark's direction, you fought your way through the Scarlet Chorus in control of the Vellum Citadel and found your way to the Silent Archive. By removing it from the building, you were able to end the Edict of Fire and also acquire an artifact of immense power. By claiming the Vellum Citadel for yourself, you treated the repository of knowledge no better than the sages of old, hoarding it from the deserving scholars and public who could benefit from history's most poignant lessons. You resolved to plumb the depth of the library's rarest collections, setting your every intention on secrets not meant for prying eyes. Okay, können auch die Scholars und Public da ranlassen. Whatever. Though the sages persist in wandering the tiers and gathering research, the loss of the Vellum Citadel proves too crippling a defeat. The scribes and mages seek opportunity away from their old home, a new refuge where they can start again, this time making sure that their knowledge doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Without any formal leadership in Lethian's Crossing, the people of Haven elected to govern themselves for the first time in ages. However, rivalries among merchants began to spark violence without anyone to enforce order. As the town began to slip into further lawlessness, Harkian Braun seized the opportunity to rally those that remained loyal to him and took control of the settlement by driving out those that disapproved of his authority. His brash and austere leadership ushered in a new age of modest prosperity for Lethian's Crossing, but at the cost of what some would call a new occupation of the settlement. Okay. By returning the Magebane helm to Lethian's Crossing, you ensured the Bane would not be able to get into the city. For the time being, the threat of a Bane incursion is dispelled. The settlers are grateful to go about their lives unburdened by this peril, though knowing how close they came to annihilation haunts them. They hope that the security you provided endures. You allowed the Forge-bound master to live, as her life held no bearing on your greater schemes. With Ash dead and the disfavored floundering, the Forge-bound also fail, having lost their main source of work. Eventually their numbers dwindle to a handful of skilled forge workers who only take commissions from the very wealthy. By enacting an edict on Venrian's Well, you announced your power to the world and showed Kairos' forces what you were capable of. When you defeated their leader and scattered the army before you, it sent a message to Kairos. A new Archon is born. While the edict dissipated, its effect will always be felt as the first true threat to Kairos' rule. The death of Graven Ash means the end of the disfavored. Without the comfort and support of the great general, what remains of the Legion sinks into hopelessness. The Archon's seat is left vacant, and whether or not it can be occupied again is a heated topic. Far from his place of final rest, the Northern Empire mourns its fallen son. Killing the Voices of Nurat spreads the joy of bloody vengeance across the continent. Celebrated as the death of history's greatest parasite, the occasion is marked by all who suffered under the oppression of the Scarlet Chorus. Even in victory, one thought nags you. Though you witnessed his death, you can't help but wonder if the Voices of Nurat is done with you. Okay. With the death of Tunan the Adjudicator, the bastard city threatens to slide back into its lawless ways. Keeping the peace and imposing a new definition of order commands all of your focus. You learn to delegate the responsibilities to a new court of Fatebinders, who lighten the burden and make the Archon's absence a manageable setback. The fealty of a killer like Bleeding Mark leaves you constantly glancing over your shoulder. You gain a measure of comfort by retaining his skills as a headsman, keeping him busy with assignments that take him far from your seat of power. As the spans pass, you come to rely on his knack for rooting out agents of your enemies and sleep easier under his watchful protection. Okay, ist er tatsächlich nicht tot. The death of Graven Ash left Barrick a shadow of his former self. He follows you for a time, as much out of habit as reflex. All agree that there is nothing of him left under the iron shell. He departs your company without a word, assuming a position at a crossroads where he allows himself to rust as solid as any statue. Verse finds herself adrift in the relative peace that follows your conquest. She returns to the field and seeks out young women from rural communities, imparting her fighting skills to only the most passionate. After the course of many apprentices, she follows the voices of Nurat's example and forms a personal army, the Callous Sisterhood. Verse proves to be a strict teacher, and you hire her services often, confident that she'll take any assignment where there's blood to be spilled. Landry keeps a close watch over you, scribbling his accounts... Landry keeps a close watch over you, scribbling his account of your deeds and accomplishments. In his tireless quest to fill the chronicle with history and knowledge, he follows you even into his twilight years, and together you learn much about the world. You pretend not to notice Landry's waning strength, though you find yourself pausing mid-sentence to let his writing catch up. He recognizes your generous ruse and appreciates it in silence. Ebb remains in your company, where she seeks out promising recruits among your supporters. After recognizing some obvious talent, she takes on a team of apprentices on a new school of would-be typecasters. Though she often jokes that the school is bound to fail with her at the helm, her students think otherwise, as do the many dozens of hopefuls who come begging for a tutelage. With no desire to remain in the company of humans, Kills in Shadow returns to the wilderness and seeks out her own kind. She discovers a haggard community of beastmen who abandoned the realms of Haven and Azure, only to be enslaved by Kyros's forces. Out of this rabble of defectors, she forges a tribe, their nomadic ways respecting no established border or law. They raid villages and caravans when possible, glutting on the spoils and boasting of their severed ties with the human world. Though a large bounty follows in the tribe's wake, no human can survive the hunt for its leader. Without the threat of the Overlord's control, Siren struggles with how to manage her freedom. Inspiration finally strikes her and she travels to Tears, visiting the small villages ravaged by Kyros's occupation. She sings to the frightened and hurt villagers, buoying their spirits and allaying their fears. Guilt for her hand in the horrors wrought upon the world by the Scarlet Chorus spur her on, and her wonders become more and more spectacular. The followers of the songbird grow in number, taking the message of peace and harmony throughout Territus. By abandoning your decorated career in Kyros's military, you gave the Tears room to define the path ahead. The future will not be mapped by foreign ideals or the will of a distant autocrat. It is only a matter of time before the Overlord launches a retaliation. You will be ready to face it. Without allies, the winds are especially cold atop your spire. You await Kyros's inevitable advance, brooding over the decisions that led you to this point. Though the Tears are a friendless place, they are indisputably your new home. Okay. Das war Tyranny. Ah, ja, das hat sehr viel Spaß gemacht. Ich denke, ich werde mich in Zeitkürze nochmal zurückmelden mit einem abschließenden Video zu Tyranny, einem Nachwort und einer Kritik, weil es, denke ich, ein paar Sachen gibt, die es zu dem Spiel zu sagen gibt, oder die man dazu sagen sollte, sagen könnte. Ja, das war das Let's Play zu Tyranny auf unsere Weise. Es scheint so zu sein, das werde ich bis zu dem Nachwortvideo nochmal recherchieren, dass man, wenn man die anderen Story-Richtungen wählt, ein vermeintlich doch deutlich anderes Spiel bekommt. Also wir hatten in wirklich einigen Missionen kann ich mir, also die wir gemacht haben, kann ich mir irgendwie nicht vorstellen, wie wir die als Rebell, als Scarlet Chorus oder als Disfavored gemacht hätten. Also ich vermute bald, dass es, und ich bin mir auch ziemlich sicher, dass es immer noch einige ausgegraute Bereiche gab. Ortschaften, wo wir nicht hin konnten. Also ich könnte mir vorstellen, dass das Spiel sehr variiert, wenn man eine andere Storyline wählt. Aber da werde ich mich noch ein bisschen schlau lesen und dann in dem Kritikvideo darauf eingehen, falls nötig. Ja, also das war das Let's Play zu Tyranny. Ich hoffe, es hat Spaß gemacht zuzusehen. Mir hat es auf jeden Fall ziemlich viel Spaß gemacht, es zu spielen. Und ja, dann würde ich sagen, lasse ich die Credits hier noch durchlaufen. Ja, etwas. So. Es ist ja, glaube ich, kein Kick-gestartetes Spiel, also wir werden, glaube ich, nicht 2 Stunden Kickstarter-Backers hier erleben müssen, oder? Glaube ich zumindest. Egal. Wie auch immer, ich lasse die Credits jetzt durchlaufen und verabschiede mich schon mal, bedanke mich nochmal und dann bleibt mir gewogen. Wir sehen uns. Bis dahin. Tschüss.